Hello. Hey. Hi, guys. It's her.
Wow, that was loud.
Hi, Miss Angela. How are you? Okay, so we're going to start with our Public Safety Committee meeting. We have all of our counselors here, Janine Cornbess, Savino Sanchez, Angela Moore, and Judy Stubbs. Mike is here. The reason why we are sitting up here at the dais instead of down in our usual C shape or horseshoe shape is we want more participation from the public to come in, and we don't want to have our people helping us work on this nuisance ordinance. We don't want them to have to get up and down to the tables. So we've kind of made it a little more comfortable for them, even though we are spread out as counselors. And Miss Moore is on the telephone from home because she's self-quarantining herself, I believe. Am I correct? Are you there?
Yeah, it was mandated from my job. I came in contact with somebody at my job.
Okay. So you're safe at home. That's a good thing.
Yes, thank you.
So I need a motion. Well, I've already kind of called roll. Sorry, I took over there. I need approval of the agenda. Miss Judy?
I don't have to hit this stuff that I never can do anyway, do
No,
I?
ma'am, none of that.
Okay, we don't, because we're not.
None of our
doing
buttons,
that.
just our
Okay.
microphones.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me ask a question. Mike, before I move to approve this, why does the amended sheet say that at the top, yellow highlighted, dates below only?
That's what I missed on the original version. I left the wrong dates on there. So that's what was amended, was only the dates on the front page there.
Oh, okay, because mine didn't come out yellow, I guess, so thank you, though, appreciate it. Okay, so, Madam Chair, I'm so sorry. I move to approve the agenda for the October 13th, 2020 regular Public Safety Committee meeting agenda as amended.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have
Second.
Okay, I have 2 seconds, actually. So we'll move on to a vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All approve, same sign. So we will move on to approval of the minutes.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes from the regular Public Safety Committee meeting, which was held on September 15th, 2020, as written.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second from Mr. Savino. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, we're moving on to regular items. Consider Resolution 20XX, condemnations. Mr. Bartlett.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, councilors. Up next for your approval would be 12 locations along with legal descriptions that we are putting forward for the city council meeting. They're either dilapidated, deteriorated, open to the public, inadequate maintenance, or all of the above. And by putting this forward, what this does is give the staff authority to move forward in the case that the owner does not bring the property into compliance. Okay.
Okay, do we have any questions, Miss Angela? Okay, I believe there's no questions. Judy, do you have any?
Questions?
Okay. Was that a yes? You had a question or no?
No question.
Okay, thank you. So we have no questions on that, so I need a motion to send this to consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I would move to send the resolution on 12 condemnations to the full city council at our November meeting on the consent agenda.
So I have a motion.
Second.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. I have a second from Counselor Moore and Counselor Savino. So all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, so that passes. Now, we're going to move on to consider amendments for Chapter 16. We're going to work our way through these pages one section at a time. We are going to start on page 11 and start with 16.1. And I believe,
Madam Chair?
yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, may I interrupt? I'd asked Mr. Patterson to make copies for us of what had gone through both this committee previously and legal committee, so that we could have kind of a head start on some ideas of some changes. You'll notice that in what you're going to get, the legal committee did theirs in red line, and what this committee did are highlighted in yellow. So it's just a guideline as to what's already been discussed. Thank you. When we go through this. So,
Thank you. How come
thank
we're
you.
yellow?
What?
How come we're yellow and they're red? I'm sorry.
We actually redlined.
I'm
In
just
legal.
harassing you.
And
I'm
this
sorry.
committee highlighted and underlined.
Okay. Thank you.
Because we are the.
Okay.
Angela, we'll put one in your box.
Okay. So now we're going to go back to the top, and Mr. Mike, would you like to start with section 16-1?
Thank you, Counselor. Just to set the stage for this, I have no intentions of working through the entire document today unless the committee has a different idea. My thought was this, to take it slowly and diligently, go through and look at each section, make sure that we're all on the same page. If the public shows up, anybody has any questions, I would rather discuss it, beat it up in committee, and produce a document to the full council that has a chance of being adopted. So my intentions was we could take the first three sections. If that goes quick, we could move on. It'd be at y'all's pleasure how long you want to stay here and go through this. But I'm sure some of these, some of the meetings, we may only get one section done, because I think some of them will generate quite a few conversations. So if you want to start, we can start at section 16-1, prohibited general abatement. And looking back through the legal committee and the previous public safety committees, we had no changes in that section. So I would ask everybody to, if they would read through it real quick and just make sure that we're good with that, and before we moved on to another one.
Okay, Ms. Judy, you've already seen this all through legal, so you understand most of it. We're just now looking at it, which helps tremendously with the yellow and the red markings.
And if we make additions today, we could put them in blue.
Ooh, how
And if I could just add something, if we make any additions today, or if we choose to take some of the revisions that we made at the past two committees, we will do it in a red letter striking and red letter the changes that we make today, and we'll bring those back next month. And my intention is we would review what the changes we made tonight, and then go to the next few sections and just eat at it a little bit at a time.
Okay, so we'll go from here to legal. Is that what I'm hearing?
Pardon me?
We'll go from this session to legal, and then it comes back
No,
here
ma'am.
again?
My intentions, unless y'all have something different, would not send it to legal until we were complete with the document.
Okay.
And that way we're not tying a couple committees up with this
Okay,
process.
so we did get the clean copy in our box, but as we go through this, can we get this marked up one a little sooner so we can study it?
Absolutely. Once we make our changes, or if there's any changes tonight made, I will go back, me and Parker, and we'll put together the red line version of everything that we changed today.
Perfect.
And then I will email that out to everybody so you have it prior, well in advance of next month's meeting. And so you can look at it, make sure we got what you intended us to get, and be prepared to discuss it briefly at the next meeting. Are we still good with it? We are? Okay, let's go to the next section and work on it. If that sounds like a plan to everybody, that's what we'll do.
That would help me. Are you good with that?
Yes.
Judy? Okay.
Yes.
Savino's good with it? Okay. So we'll start with section -1, and there were no changes in that? Are
There
we
was-
all,
There was no changes at the last two, through public safety or legal. I don't believe staff has any request to change anything. I'll look over at Parker from a legal standpoint if
Okay.
there's anything that he had issues with. So we're good with that one.
Okay, so let's move to 16.2.
Public nuisances, there were some changes added to that, and if you'll notice on your copies, I tried to include, Parker was kind enough to give me a copy of his, that we numbered each line. So if we go to a certain page, I hope that's a copy you have, as page numbers or line numbers.
I don't have numbering each line, no.
Okay, maybe I didn't get it in.
You're special, you have one.
It didn't, they were on there, it didn't print on there.
That's okay. They were outside the margin, probably. That's okay, we can count.
So
more or less.
16-2,
So 3 has yellow on it. Number 3.
right, but there's not a 3 on the clean copy that I got from Parker. Do you see that one, Parker?
Yeah.
So it's section 2, down to number 3 in the parentheses.
The only thing that was added was.
Interference with
they
exercise
did-
and enjoyment of both public
This-
and private property rights.
Number 2.
I see. So what they added to this is a clean version. What they did was they added the number 3, and I don't know why he did that, but then he included, it's the same as number 2. I guess that's what he was trying to show, that it's the same as number 2, but he added both and private property rights. And the
Oh, I
stru-
see. So number 3 is just by mistake.
Yeah,
No.
a duplicate of
Okay.
number
That,
2.
if I may, Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
the yellow came from this committee.
Yes.
So that appears to me, because I think I got on in the middle of this, but I think what happened with section 16.2.3 was 3 was added and then changed.
Yes.
So I think 3 was added by this committee to say, yeah, both public and private property rights, period.
So what I'm asking is, why is 2 pretty parallel to 3? Can we not cut it down to 1 and not have to deal with both? Because in our colored copy, we added 3. In our clean
Right.
copy, we did not have a 3, but 3 is pretty close to parallel to 2. We just need to put both up into, and private property rights is already up there, other than rights.
That's-
You see what I'm saying?
Well, like I say, I don't know if I was on this committee when this happened, but it appears to me, if everyone agrees, to make 3 with the changes number 2, which I think all it does is number 2 says including the right to use public property, and this is saying both public and private property rights.
So I think it just needs to be metamorphosed together.
Understood. And for the courts, or not the courts, sorry, I was just in court. I literally just walked out of court. For the committee's reference, this is actually verbatim from a state statute. And so the language that we're fiddling with is the statutory language, which we've just rewritten in our ordinance. But I don't mind that. I actually I need to develop some comments on this myself. I'll inform you guys that I have some issues with the way this is written, even though it's straight out of state statute, because it's very broad in its language without being very specific as to what is prohibited. And in the context of this being used, and it sometimes is used for criminal enforcement, I think that it creates some issues for constitutionality of the application against people. So I'd like to take a crack at tightening it up a little bit so that, you know, if you read this, you don't actually know what conduct is being prohibited here. It's just like, don't make a bureaucrat mad, which is not a good criminal statute to have. So I'd like to tighten it up, but I haven't gotten,
That's
This-
okay.
Something that I need to work on that I have not gotten to yet.
So why don't section 16-2, we revisit it next month? How does that sound?
That sounds good. And if we could work with Parker and maybe insert some language in there, and it would be redlined so that you
Correct.
would know what we inserted, and then we can further discuss that. And I'll get, like I said, get it out to you early so that you have an idea of what we inserted in there.
Okay, are we good with that? We're all good with that? So we'll revisit 16-2 next month. We'll let Parker tighten up the words and minimize it and put teeth to it. We like teeth.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
a question for Parker. As he goes through this, is he already familiar with kind of the ones that he know that need a little more teeth to it? Are you already familiar with that? Or are you gonna just do it as we go through it to, to determine which ones are,
I would
that you're not?
I would prefer to be able to come here with proposed amendments as we go forward. I was not able to get to it this time, but yeah, I do have some ideas about what we could change. They're not always ideas that are popular, and so I don't know whether they'll all be accepted, but I at least have some proposals. But I would think that what I want to do going forward is, as we come up against different sections, just produce them with red line copies when we get to the meeting, assuming I have time to get that ahead of time.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I get that. That's what I was saying. If it's a lot, doesn't make sense for us to start breaking through if we have to keep going back and, leaving ones for us to, make some notes on. But I appreciate that your idea wanting to change the language so that it's not so vague or broad, as you say. Now, I don't say vague, you say broad. So, okay, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But number two, but I just wanted to make sure we had it ahead of time, what he wants to change. No, what statutes he think need fixing ahead of time also. That's all I'm asking.
And I think we also want to make sure that we get this right so we don't have to visit it again. So it may take, the animal ordinance took 8 months, so this may take 12. Who knows? We'll keep going at
Yes.
it, little by little, get it stirred up and make it right. You can't hear me? Really? So, anyway, I can't believe you can't hear me. Anyway, so we'll move on to 16-3, and it looks like we're striking and to protect the same from pretty sneaky thieves within the city. That sounds like I wrote it.
Thieves.
Pretty sneaky.
We just didn't feel that was necessary at legal. It's kind of,
Weird.
Miss Angela, that is on the last sentence of 16-3. I don't think you have the colored. So after a nuisance, we're going to stop it right there with a period. And to protect the same from pretty sneak thieves within the city, I think we are going to redline that. Is that okay by you?
Who wrote that? That is retarded.
I probably did back in 1978. I don't know.
it's petty,
It's
Madam
funny as
Chair.
heck,
I'm
though.
sorry.
So is that okay with you if we strike that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, everyone up here seems to think the same, and we're good with that? Mr. Mike?
I'm sorry, we were discussing a little bit more there. We're good with that.
You're good with that? Okay, so section 16-3, I'm going to put an okay by. We don't have to revisit it. So we're going to go on to 16-4.
Madam Chair, if I could just throw in right there, that's a perfect example of one that we will redline that one so that you know, because this is a clean copy, and that way you know that we took that out. So that'll be on the next one.
Okay, it's redlined on our pretty colored one already.
It's yellow.
Okay,
We'll redline it.
okay.
No, it has.
It is redlined already,
Okay.
but that's okay. We'll get there. Okay, so 16-4, weeds, and then we added and tall grass at the top. And that's in yellow, so that came from public safety. And you know what, Miss Judy, since you're chair of legal, I'm going to let you do all the red.
Okay. You can see in section 16:4, we left A alone. B, I just didn't like the word servant in that first line in Mr. Patterson told me that that's a legal term, but he was okay with taking it out. So, no owner, lessee, or occupant or agent, representative, or employee of such owner, lease, or occupant having control of any lot, tract, or parcel of land, or any part thereof within the city shall allow, permit, or maintain any growth of weeds or grass thereon, which, and then we go to 1, 2, 3, but we scratched on any such lot, tract, or parcel of land because it was repetitive. And we added or grass. And thereon which, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see we actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from C, D, E, and that was it. From this section, it's hard to talk to it because I know a lot of people don't have it in front of them, but we felt it, instead of coming next after B, that those 5 should really be under B, and we broke them out a little more than C, D, and E did.
Okay, so
But
this.
Mr. Patterson may have a better explanation than I.
No, that's about as well as you can describe it.
Okay.
I will recall that one of the things that came up at legal was the definition of grass, and that might be something we want to look at, is,
Oh, that's
what is the grass that we
Because
are.
you've got decorative grasses now, and
But-
you've got over 1 foot, and a lot of the decorative grasses can be 2 to 6.
And so the question is going to be, is that something we want to allow or not? And I don't know enough about grass.
Do
I'll
we
leave
have a
that.
definition, do we have a definition section? Do we need to start one? Because
We-
I think if you define your grasses, I think that would be easier, because they do have names. Blue grown.
They do, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and I understand that.
And the code enforcement has had issues with this where they'll get calls from neighbors that their neighbor hasn't mowed their grass all summer long and it's knee-high. Maybe if we put something in there about turf grass.
But that's not decorative grass.
No, it's not
Not
decorative.
mowing your yard is not decorative grass.
No,
Decorative
we're
grass is.
we're not concerned about the decorative grass. So the
Correct.
decorative, can't even say that word, decorative grass. It's going to be like your, I can't even think of one of the names of, ornamental grass, things
Yeah.
like that. And it'll grow up more like a bush than it will a grass. What we're concerned with is somebody's turf in their yard, where they don't maintain their yard, and we get calls from neighbors that they haven't mowed their lawn in 3 months or 2 months, and there's nothing in the ordinance that we can require them to.
So you want to put turf grass instead of decorative grasses?
I would lean that, I would look at the attorney to see if
You've got to
he
think
thinks
about
that
what
would be.
turf grass is considered, I think.
Pardon me?
You may have to look to see what turf grass.
Right. Your Bermudas, your fescues, your Kentucky bluegrasses.
Are they easier to name than the ornamental? Or do we even want just examples of fescue, Bermuda?
What we want is the public and the officers understand that it's somebody's yard.
Okay.
I'm going to put it in layman terms.
Because
The-
this is
the
going to
yard
come
has
back
not
and
been
bite us.
mowed.
This is going to come back and bite us because another counselor's already asked about ornamental grasses.
Right. I'm not talking about ornamental grass. We're talking about turf grass.
I think we can, right up at the top, we've got a definition of weeds. We could just throw in either a new subsection or add something to that gets to the issue we're talking about, that we're distinguishing ornamental grasses that are intended to be that way, as opposed to people who've just let grass grow out of
Because you're
whack.
right, there's different grasses.
Right.
It's very understandable. You've got clump, ornamental, then you have turf grasses. So
Right.
there's your 2 definitions right there. Bill, you just turned it on. That means you want to talk.
Thank you, ma'am. The officers actually have a book that they use for reference for weeds and grass. And, 99% of the time, they know the difference. If there's something that they have any questions about, whether it's ornamental or not, they do refer to that book. But to put all of that in here and be so specific would be tough. But they
know
do
what they're
use their
looking at.
discretion. I mean, when it's obviously just an unmowed yard, Bermuda grass that's kind of twining through the fence, that's what we're talking about here.
Okay. And they know what they're talking about, but Joe Blow Public doesn't. That's the problem. They're gonna think their yard is ornamental, you know, so.
So the
Ms.
way.
Judy, do you think about the two definitions, defining turf grasses and ornamental grasses and just giving a quick blurb?
I think leaving it to the two experts would be,
Okay, so
Is
leave it
what
up
I
to the
would
two
like to
experts.
see.
Okay.
I think that if Bill and I sit down, we could probably
That's-
come up with some, because I mean, the way, you look at the way this is written, so it's first a general statement, weeds are defined as any plant of no value, usually displaying rank growth. And then it includes, but not limited to, and then gives a whole bunch of specific examples. That's a kind of good definition for a legal definition. Here's a general statement of what we're talking about, and then several examples that explain, but don't, it's not an exhaustive list. So
Okay.
maybe we can come up with something like that, talking about the kind of grass that we don't want.
And it may be easy for our region, you know, there's not a whole lot of different type grasses here. Buffalo grass, Bermuda grass, fescue, Kentucky bluegrass, things like that. It may not be too hard to identify those and include them or portion of them in that definition.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I like your idea, and the other one that we worked so hard on, they had a page of definitions in the back or in one, at the part of one of the last one that we worked on for a long time. It's not a bad idea, I guess, we'll figure out, you know, write the words and, you know, as we come to them and think about if they need a definition. You know, if it's not that many, then we don't put it in, you don't have to have it, but I think that's not a bad idea, is to kind of have a page of words that we feel like may need to be defined. And so that part of the ordinance doesn't look so long by adding 10 different types of grass right there or something. So, I think if we had a definitions page like we did on the other one, it would not be a bad idea. You have good ideas every once in a while, young lady.
Every now and then I have a good idea. Miss Angela, could you back up from your microphone just a little bit? Because sometimes you come in groggled, so just a little bit, if you don't mind. And yeah, every now and then I have a good idea. It's kind of scary.
So is the proposition here that we would develop, so I mean, like when we did the animal control ordinance, the first section is just a whole list of definitions. I mean, is that what you guys would like to see for this? Because we
Bill,
could do that.
do you think we're going to need it for this whole ordinance, just one page of nothing but definitions to clarify and get us out of the trouble if we need it?
Ma'am, I wouldn't think so. I would prefer, I mean, actually, if it's going to be, if we're going to have to be that technical and it's going to be that much trouble, I would prefer to just strike it, honestly. Because, I mean, we can deal with those. We do get a lot of those type complaints, but we're able to handle the majority of those. You know, the officers have been proven wrong at times. Let's say they get called out to a vacant lot and there was a kind of grass on it that didn't look good, but it was a native grass and it was not a weed or it was not intrusive. They've been proved wrong, you know, they've learned, and vice versa. They've also been told, no, this is decorative grass, and then they've had to actually show people, no, it's not, this is exactly what it is. But I would just, if we're gonna have to really do all those definitions over the grass, I would prefer to just strike it.
Well, maybe just if we do turf grass and ornamental.
So,
Right.
I'm like Judy, I'd like you two professionals to figure it out before next meeting.
from a drafting point of view or like a structural point of view, there's two ways to use definitions. You know, so like with this one with weeds, because this is the only section that deals with weeds, we put the definition right there in the section. If you're gonna have a big definition section at the beginning, it's because you have a whole lot of terms that are used throughout. So an example might be, in this context, public nuisance. So if you wanted to use public nuisance throughout uniformly, you start at the beginning and say, whenever we talk about public nuisance in this ordinance, this is what we mean. And we use that a lot with animal control ordinance, for example. What is a hybrid? Who is a responsible party? And things like that, where terms that we have a specialized meaning for, that we are, if we're gonna put a definition in an ordinance, it should be because it's different from we have a special meaning that we have for that in this ordinance, as opposed to, we're just talking about the dictionary definition. We don't need to define it, we don't need to repeat the definition that's in the dictionary. If we've got a special use that we want to apply here, then we use a definition. So
Okay. So it might be easier just to put it underneath weeds and tall grass.
I agree.
Just a
If we
quick
tried to do a whole definition section, for example, on junk,
Okay,
what's the definition of junk? Everybody's got a different definition of junk. It depends on where that material's located, how it's located. Is it confined? Is it covered? Is it, there's a lot of things that could go, I'm not sure we could come up with a definition for junk.
okay. Okay, so now is that 16-4, is that all of it? No, Miss Judy, you stopped at 2, right?
No, I didn't feel I had to read those
Oh,
to you, but
okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 have basically been broken out from C, D, and E. And again, like I said, put them under B instead of, as part of B instead of C, D, E.
Okay, so we're
So-
striking all those,
So we're striking those three.
C, D, and E. Okay.
Renumbering the last two
Okay,
Right. We
in
got that.
section 16.4.
okay.
This is very difficult for me because I don't know what you guys are talking about. So I'm trying to, read the other pieces. So if you're gonna strike the whole thing, I'm not going to read it all just for me. But I just kind of just listen in a little bit there because I don't know what you guys are talking about, colors and all that stuff. So I'll just sit back and listen.
Okay, okay. And it'll be in your box before the next meeting, and you can go back over it, because it's hard to follow without the colored
Yes,
okay,
yes, ma'am.
perfect, thank you. So as far as I can tell, on 16-4, we're going to do a small definition of weeds and grass at top. Other than that, everything underneath that is okay. Am I correct?
Yep.
Am I correct?
Right.
Okay.
Everything that came out of legal committee that's on there, we'll include in the next one.
Okay, so let's go on to 16-15, offensive matter. It doesn't look like there's any color.
16.5.
Yeah, that one. Doesn't look like there's any color in that one. Are we all good with that one?
You good with that one, yeah?
I am. Miss Judy, are you good with that one?
Yes. thank
Okay.
you.
Miss Angela, we didn't change anything on 16-5, so we'll go on to 16-6, and there is some red and yellow. So, Miss Judy, you want to do your, Rick?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Under 16-6A, I think we just tried to make that a little easier to read and get out some of the repetition again. So, gee, I guess that's all one
Yep.
sentence, isn't it? It shall be unlawful for any person to permit or cause to remain in or about his premises any solid waste automobiles not in operation or operating condition, wastewater, any conglomeration of residue thereof, which emits odors, serves as a feeding or breeding place for flies, insects, or rodents. We added obstructs pedestrian traffic. I'm not sure, Parker, we struck our own,
No.
Which is
and which in the opinion?
Right.
Or we're
and
just striking that? I'm
That was
sorry.
just a strike. That was in
We're
the
just
original.
striking, that's the original, sorry. We struck, and which, in the opinion of the code enforcement officer, and added, or which is added otherwise, unsanitary, added hazardous, or injurious, to public health. So basically,
Where's it at?
okay.
I think you can, the last phrase of that one, of 16.6A reads, insects or rodents obstructs pedestrian traffic or which is otherwise unsanitary, hazardous, or injurious,
Injurious.
thank you, to the public health.
Is injurious a word?
Yes.
Injurious.
Injurious is one of those legal words that lawyers made up and then claim are real words.
You guys.
So we just basically took what was in C and put it into A because they kind of said the same thing anyway.
Okay, and C has been stricken,
Yes.
and we moved our C down, we moved our D down, and we moved our E down, and this committee added the yellow, which all properties must have the valid solid waste service account. All outside storage of materials not on display for direct sale or retail to the customer shall be enclosed and effectively screened from the adjacent streets and properties by place a solid fence or wall made of brick, masonry, stone, wood at the property line not less than 6 feet in height, or the height of the materials being screened, whichever is greater. Are you good with that one?
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
This is where I'll throw a kink in the discussion, okay?
Well, my question.
It's going too smooth.
Dang it.
On Section A, Mr. Bartlett reminded me that we already have a obstructing pedestrian traffic in Section 22-1 of the city code. So I don't know if we need to add that in this section also, where it's prohibited to obstruct any kind of pedestrian traffic.
Would you just put refer
It
to-
seems as though it's in the wrong place, because this is unsanitary and hazardous premises, and then we have the obstructs pedestrian traffic. And we have an obstruction ordinance in a different part of the book that covers any obstruction.
So do you just want to refer to the other section of the book? Would that be the easiest? Pull the language out and just refer to the section?
I think we could just strike the obstructs pedestrian traffic completely from this paragraph.
Ms. Judy?
Okay, we did get that from C. It was originally there. In
And we struck
section
C.
16.6C.
And we struck C.
Right there, right
Oh, yeah, yeah.
here. Yeah.
So
Are
we
all
just
reading off the same
consolidated.
paper? Are we all reading off the same paper?
Mhm.
I don't-
Well,
Yes, so
Okay.
we put obstruct pedestrian traffic in A because we were moving anything that was in C up to A that wasn't in A so that we could do one section that said all that. But if obstruct pedestrian traffic is somewhere else entirely, then it wouldn't hurt anything to just eliminate that and just have serves as a feeding or breeding place for flies, insects, or rodents, or which is otherwise unsanitary, hazardous, or injurious to the public health. I think you could do it like that. No reason not to.
I think it'd just be cleaner, just a recommendation. It's
So you want to take out obstructs pedestrian traffic. Bill,
correct.
is that correct? Just
Yes,
that one,
ma'am.
those three
Yes, ma'am.
words? I'm okay with that.
Okay. Okay, we're all good with that? So we're going to okay 16.6, but you need to come back with a strike on it, so.
Right.
Okay. Okay, it is 5:09. Do we want to continue on to 16.7? Looks like it's a big bite, like 4 or 5 pages. Ms. Judy?
Sure, let's go.
Okay, let's go. So let's move on to 16-7, abandonment of dangerous containers. We got a little red up front. We struck one, capital A and little a. Go ahead. And then we struck
Bec-
all of 2.
Because, yes, because we struck two, so there's no longer a one.
And if I recall, the feeling here was just that 2 didn't add anything that 1 didn't already have.
Right.
Okay?
But, if people feel otherwise, we could look at it again.
Stop giving us choices, partner. Okay.
I'd like to defer to Bill. Did we chop out anything that needed to be there? Do you have a red line copy?
Yes.
Okay,
No, ma'am.
it's okay, okay. So that's the only reason there is no one there,
Okay.
because there's no 2, and we deleted 2.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So if I delete 2 kids, that gets rid of 1? Anyway, okay, so let's go on to 16-8. This is all in yellow. 3 or 4 pages of it, but we struck all of the first 1 through 5. Oh, yes. And moved it down to removal of nuisance in public property.
Yeah, so this one, the old section 16-8 and the one that was added have nothing to do with each other. It was, old 16-8 was completely struck out, and I don't know why I wasn't here for that meeting, but then a different one was inserted there that I wrote. So I guess the first question is, do we want to strike that or keep it?
Mr. Bill, do you have a preference?
Do you know, I think that in this committee, those were kind of broken out in the new 16-8, with a little more definition.
I think that's what almost all this is just a
It's-
pinpoint definition on public premises, unlawful structure, personal property, unlawful structures again. So B is 2 and B.
The original section 16-8 is talking about cesspools and black carbon plants and slaughterhouses and things like that. It's,
That's why it was taken out.
Right. So we replaced it with a new 16.
This one was the
and
one-
added,
This one was the one that I had written about when, if the city goes in and abates a public nuisance on public property, like a tent city created by homeless people, and what due process were they entitled to as the city walks through that process. But I understand, I wasn't there at the city council meeting where this was first considered, but I understand that was quite a controversial concept. So I don't know if we want to revisit that entirely or just strike it altogether, or have a whole new discussion about what that was.
So here's my question. I think some of the other counselors are going to want to hone in on this. So can we table 16-A, table it, postpone it, move on to 16 well, it would be 9. It would be 16-9, not 10. And let the other counselors know that we're going to do it at the next public safety meeting, and they're welcome to come in or join by phone. That way we can beat it up. And if you, Bill, if you want to beat it up before it comes back again, let's beat it up again, because I think that one is going to be a hot potato if it
Right.
has to do with the tent cities and things like that.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's skip 16-8. Let's move on over, and you've got it, you marked out 16-9, but it really is 16-9.
Right. and
Roswell
no.
Smoke-Free Air Act of 2004.
oh,
That becomes 16-10.
because there, 16-9 at the bottom of page
Oh.
6 of 31
Okay,
was
so we're
added.
gonna hold on to 16-8 and
And
16-9 and bring it back, okay? Because those kind of go together, am I right?
Well, 16-9 has to do with giving code enforcement the power to enter a premises that has a nuisance on it. So if the owner doesn't want to allow the code enforcement officer, he can go to the municipal judge and basically get a warrant to enter. And that comes out of a state statute that allows for that process.
Okay.
So we can save that one and come back to it if people want.
I don't think there's any reason to save that one if it comes right from state. So we'll, okay, 16-9. It was snuck down in there with yellow. Oy. Okay, 16-10. Roswell Smoke-Free Air Act of 2004. There is no color on this one. Did you guys get that far in
Yes,
legal?
but didn't do anything to it.
Yeah, it's just a renumber.
Okay.
What?
Just
Just a
renumbered.
renumber. So I'm good
Right.
with that one. Since-
I have a question about what you took out 16-9. You said that's the one about allowing, you said that, he put that one in from state statute that allowing them, it just gave a procedure for allowing them to go into those type of areas? Is that what 16-9 changed to?
Yes, and so, so if you look at it, what it talks about is if the code enforcement officer wants to do a search but is refused by the owner, he can make an application to the municipal court judge, which is basically the same thing as like, kind of like what a search warrant like the police do. And he has to swear or affirm that there's probable cause to believe that there's a nuisance on the premises, and then the judge can sign off on that and gives the officer some court authority to go on to private property. And as I say, yes, there's a state statute that talks about that.
So on the 16, I'm sorry, y'all got, for the 69 that y'all took out, so this spitting in the public and all that, that's all out, and there's something different that y'all see, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I think what you're saying and what I'm hearing is they dismissed 16-8 and rewrote it,
Okay,
and that is the one we're going to skip until the next meeting so other counselors can look at it.
all right, okay, that's what mine looks different, because they said, mine still says something about the slaughterhouses and stuff, so I thought they all had taken that one out. So,
No, the original 16-8, they took out, totally struck the whole thing, and they replaced it. They replaced it, and that's the one we're gonna pull over to next meeting, because I think other counselors want to,
yeah,
get in there. Right now, we're talking about 16-9 inspections, and that was taken from state statute, I think what Parker's saying. So if they have a grievance, they can go to the municipal court and get their grievance fixed there.
Yes, that's the idea. So the judge upon a finding of probable cause, issues an inspection order detailing the property to be inspected and the alleged nuisance to be abated. And so that, like I said, that it gives you that court authority to go onto private property regardless, even if the person is objecting to that.
Okay. Did you understand that one, Miss Angela?
yes, I got what to do with that part, but I thought you was on to the smoke-free, so that's why I'm like, what does that got to do with the smoke-free? Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I already understood that.
Okay, so now we're going on to the Smoke-Free Air Act of 2004. It went to legal. They didn't change anything on it. I'm content with that. Are you content with that, Ms. Moore?
If I could ask Mr. Patterson, has anything been updated at the state level recently on smoking?
Not that I'm aware of. I can look at that. As I recall, and this is obviously way before my time, but this was one of those uniform ordinances that got passed pretty much verbatim among many cities around this time. But whether they're the same as they were in 2004, I couldn't say, but I could look at it.
Yeah, maybe that would be a good idea, Madam Chair, because I think we kind of breezed over this because it basically mirrored what statute did, but there could have been some changes since.
So you want to revisit it?
Yeah.
Because I
maybe so.
remember we did something about cigars, and I think one of the counselors that's retired said something about e-cigarettes, but I don't think that was before vape. So
It never
we're
got
like
it.
way back here. I didn't come in till 12, so. So let's just kind of revisit that one too. Is that
Yeah, I'd
okay?
like to know if there are some updated laws on that part too, so I agree with that.
Okay. Are you good with that, Mr. Matthews?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Because there's 22 different kind of things to smoke with now, so, yeah.
Hey, my thing's weed, man, so what can I say? Not really. Okay, so let's go on to 16-11, and it says 6-11, but I think we'll put a 1 in front of the 6. And that's noises.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and the only thing we've added is the number 7, excessive use of generator in residential areas after daylight hours. Everybody okay with that?
That again, Madam Chair, came from this committee. Legal just changed a little wording to make it more clear, I think.
Okay. And then you have your sporting events are going to be a little bit touchy too, because we went through that during council.
I don't know if this would be another one, Madam Chair, that you
This is,
want to let the other counselors know, table this one for next month, because I know there were some concerns on this.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there.
Okay. So
Yeah,
let's,
I
let's,
have, I
yes,
have a
ma'am.
few current thing I wanna read through that, because I saw something that I wanted to talk about, but let's wait till I get some more information, because I have a question, but I'll save it if we're gonna table it. Cause I just kinda like, cause unless it's like a stealing noise, loud noise, like, you know. But there's this, like, out here, there's this young people, so is this for people like, there's a little boy rides his four-wheeler at 2 o'clock in the morning, the big old van, like he's out in the country, just up and down the street, up and down the street. So is this where that type of information, with that type of, bothering, this just bothers me, I'm nobody else, but is that where that type of thing would be put, like, you're just talking about gatherings, are you talking about any type of loud noise?
Councilor Moore, I would say if you have an individual that's riding a four-wheeler up and down the street, then that's a call to the police department at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know the traffic codes I think UTVs are allowed on city streets, but not state highways. I don't know about the ATVs. I could find out to let you know, but then there comes into some other questions. Are they licensed? Are they underage? Are they wearing a helmet? Several things.
Nope, nope, and nope.
Well, then the appropriate call for that at any time during the day would be to the police department if that's going on.
Well, and Counselor, there is a subsection here that does address kind of the situation you're talking about, which is B3, the use of any automobile, truck, bus, motorcycle, or internal combustion engine so out of repair or so loaded or in such a manner as to create loud and unnecessary grating, grinding, rattling, or other noise. So I think that would probably cover what you're talking about.
Where is that one at? Which one is that?
B3.
E3. So that would be like even the ones that put them big pipes on the bottom of their cars or the big speakers in the back, so that when they're going down the street, it vibrates the windows. That's what that is, B3, right?
I would read this as attempting to basically prohibit any kind of use of a motor vehicle in a way that would generate excessive noise.
Are you okay, Ms. Moore?
Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Because they said we're gonna revisit some of it, so.
Yep, so we'll revisit 1611 also. Okay, so let us move on to 1612. I see that legal has changed a few words around.
Yes, Madam Chair, this has to do with dwellings unfit for human habitation. It says several times that this will be reviewed by the city attorney. Since the city attorney represents the city, Parker better take it from here. We felt it was much more appropriate that it go to the city manager.
Right, and the other thing that we changed was there's a lot of discussion of the Planning and Zoning Committee, which does
Yes.
not exist anymore. Yeah, it was thought that the better practice and the way that we've handled this in other situations is to have the city manager be the one that would do something like this, and then he can designate an appropriate person if he sees fit to.
So do we have that in there that he could use, city manager or designee?
I think we could put that there, but I think the city manager always has that authority to designate. That's kind of his core function, to designate.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And I will say that our ability to toy with this is limited because it is a state statute that we basically copied and put into our ordinance. That one and the next one
Okay,
are both state statutes.
okay.
Why are state statutes so wordy?
Excuse me?
I said, why are state statutes so wordy? There's like 22 commas in that little paragraph.
So wordy? Is that what you're asking? I
Because
didn't,
Yeah, it is.
because they're referred to 112 people in the legislature.
well, that and the state isn't really cut up into quadrants, and we all live different, so they have to cover.
No, I don't mean it that way. I mean, because I like that to be a sentence. There's no paragraph in that whole section. No period. So that's what I was That's what I was meaning wording, that there was like comma, 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 comma. There's no, for that whole 8 lines, there's no period in it. That's all.
That,
Oh, your English major's coming out in you. I get it.
this
Okay.
is where English majors and lawyers butt heads. This is the kind of thing lawyers love, run-on sentences of many parts.
Okay. Okay, English major, shall we go on?
Yeah, you can go
Okay.
on.
Okay.
So
So
this is, I'm just asking, you said that one straight out of statute.
it's
And
a
is
state.
there a way, can you put that somewhere that is, or you just by how it's worded, that's how a person is supposed to know? So if Joe Blow picked this up off the street, they could know that that was a state statute? Is there a way of like putting a number when there's a state statute or something? I don't know. Maybe,
It's a-
I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking.
It has it in the first, number 1. It says law 3-46-43, New Mexico State. What's the A for?
Annotated.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so is everybody content with 1612? Can I put an okay by it and pass it on?
Yes.
Miss Judy?
Yes.
Okay, and Miss Angela, other than the punctuation, I'll assume that I can pass it on.
Oh, you talking about, so 612 is dwelling unfit, all the way to, so 3 pages over?
All the way to 1613, which is on page,
Which used to be 12, 1612.
yeah.
22.
Anyway,
So the one that says 1612 is still a part of that, dangerous buildings, right? That's still a part of what we
okay.
just read.
No, 1613 is now designated as dangerous buildings or debris removal notice right of City of Roswell to remove.
Oh, yeah, that's
link.
13 in that.
That's
stuff.
gonna be 13 now, and that's the one we're gonna work on now. And to me,
Okay.
it looks like it only has 1 strike in it. No, that's 16. Never mind.
This one also comes out of state statute and is verbatim.
Okay. So it's out of state statute, so we didn't change anything on it other than renumber it for ours. So I'm okay.
So so at the bottom where it says section 16, oh, no, reserve. So no, I still don't see where you tell me it's, oh, I see it on number, NMS date, 1978, blah, blah, blah.
That's in the
Okay.
ordinance before this. Okay, so let us go on to section 16-14 and 16-15. It says reserved. I assume that's if we want to add anything else to this at one point. So now, do we want to stop at this?
I think that's enough.
It's 5:28. Are you good with that, Ms.
Yeah.
Judy?
We've done
Okay.
Article 1,
Yes.
or
Yes.
whatever.
Gotten a
So we're
start on
going to
it.
stop at Article 2, litter. And we'll revisit the ones, we'll revisit Article 16-2, 16-8, 16-10, 16-11, and 16-4 is going to have 2 small definitions put in it at our next meeting. Our next meeting is going to be
November 17th.
November 17th, is when we'll revisit those 5, and then we can also work on Article 2, probably at the same time, I would think.
That'll be the plan.
That'll be the plan. So, we've got that taken care of. We have no action items. Do we have anybody that has questions for the department updates that were in the back? I do not. I read through them. I was good with them. Any other counselor have questions for Chief Smith's here? Mr. Miller's?
I didn't have any questions. I did see that the euthanasia thing was quite loud. I mean, was quite high. And is there a reason that anybody that might know why the numbers are so up with the euthanizing animals again?
Mr. Burst?
Euthanizing animals, why the number is up again. would
And I can talk from past history, Counselor Moore. They kind of go up and down at different times of the year. During breeding season for cats, Unfortunately, there's a couple times a year where our numbers are pretty high because of all the breeding of cats that goes on. So I would suspect that's what it is. Mr. Burris may have some other information, but just from my past experience, I would say that's what it is.
Okay, he just said that's a true statement. Now, since you're standing there, how is the pond coming? Is it starting to fill up again?
Pond, we're working with finance to go ahead and punch water under Atkinson. So the
Okay.
water department's gonna take care of that very soon.
Okay,
Once we get underneath Atkinson, because obviously you don't want me to close the street, we'll tee off before the meter and head to the pond and start filling it up.
sweet.
I do want to see if the sides slough off again. That's all new dirt, you know, so keep our fingers crossed. We got a lot of clay in there. And, yeah, we're going to fill that pond up again, make it look nice.
The county didn't want to like rock the side of it to keep it from falling in? Was that a thought?
We'll see. We're going to just raise it up a little at a time.
Let it soak up?
Go from there. You
Okay.
know, to make it easy to maintain.
Okay,
And we already have the grass seed and that kind of stuff to put on
sweet.
there.
Okay. Are there any other questions from any of the counselors?
Yeah, my last thing is I need somebody from fire. This high fires are hired in my yard is still leaking,
Mr. Miller?
still dripping.
you know,
What's still dripping? The fire
The
hydrant?
fire hydrant.
Oh,
Fire hydrant in my
your
yard.
That's going to be a water department issue, not a fire department issue. So I'll get the,
Fire hydrant is dripping from the where the thing turns on?
pardon me?
You know where you turn the thing off to put the water hose that the firemen use, that piece that you turn?
Yes.
That's where the water's leaking from.
Right, the fire department cannot repair that. That's going to be a water department repair, and I will get them out there. I'll get the supervisor first thing in the morning and let him know about it.
All right, well, they dug it up because it was leaking from under the bottom, so now whatever they did now is leaking from the outside of it.
Right.
Okay, so we'll pass that on to the water department.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to call this meeting at 5:33. Thank you for everybody coming. Thank you for dealing with us, but we'll revisit this
Thank you,
issue.
guys.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll revisit this issue again on the 17th